Could you imagine bringing harm to yourself and enjoying it? Do you know anyone who does? Chances are you do. Even though you may not realize it, self-injury is becoming very common and more widely discussed within our adolescents. At 17, it is a huge worry about the lack of surprise I feel when I discover that another one of my classmates is cutting. It is even expected. No matter how gruesome and sad this pattern is, I am only left to hope that they are just going through a phase and that they won't cut too deep. Nowadays, you don't have to dress up in studded black leather and wear chokers to fit the part of an emo or alternative. You just have to take something sharp and not be so sharp about what you do next. But things like this are considered to be a pretty much normal occurrence within my community. So much so that the majority of my peers have become desensitized to it, unaware of the density of the problem at hand or on their wrist. I cut because it distracts me from the emotional pain and I can focus on the physical pain. Is the most commonly given reason I find. And indeed for some, it's a distorted opportunity for individuals to connect to their own bodies, to ground themselves in a society of disconnection, and an action to ease psychological distress. But for others, it has become an expressive art form, the irreverent graffiti of flesh. This way of thinking is becoming more popular throughout my adolescent community, and some are even taking pride in cutting themselves. But self-injury is addicting, and the roots of these activities summarize to very troubled emotional individuals. There has been a huge surge in number of New Zealanders who self-harm. Auckland University recently conducted a series of surveys at 91 different high schools and found that an estimated 47% of students have or are self-harming, mostly consisting of females. This is around 60%. There is a vast variety of how teenage people perceive the matter, but due to the frequent exposure to it on sites like Tumblr, Instagram, Ask.fm, Facebook, and TikTok, the most problematic reactions towards the publication of self-harm is influence, maliciousness, and apathy. Particularly on Instagram and TikTok, more private but nevertheless, I see individuals post pictures of their mutilated bodies, and then it follows with the backlash from faceless audiences, anonymous messages, or comments from internet trolls and cyberbullies. Attention whore is a common reaction when discovering someone cuts, which in some cases is a justified reaction. When individuals are posting on the internet pictures of their cuts, typically there is going to be some form of reaction. Some comments will be kind and some comments will be cruel, but loving or hating, this still makes you an audience. It is nearly impossible to expect that posting pictures of self-harm will not receive any hate, because people don't bother to differentiate a cry for help and a cry for attention anymore. People in need for the elimination of depressed feelings are receiving ill treatment to make themselves feel worse. The doctor you go to every year could suffer from this. Your favorite teacher, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your parents, your siblings, anyone. Even some of our favorite stars do or once did suffer. They include Princess Diana, Johnny Depp, Christina Ricci, Angelina Jolie, Fiona Apple, Drew Barrymore, Courtney Love, Marilyn Manson, and Shirley Manson. And there are so many more people to account for, but these brave celebrities have shared their stories to try and help people who are now suffering. Unfortunately, hurting yourself has become a glamorous attraction to social media. Some even consider embracing it and labeling it as a trend. There has been almost a culture developed and created to idolize mental illness and encourage harming yourself. Embracing your flaws and sharing your stories is one thing, but flaunting your own toxicity to potentially trigger someone else's demons is when you have to ask yourself, is it really worth sharing? You put an image of a pretty girl with some miserable, poetically rearranged words, romanticizing mental illness through Edited photos can backfire because there is nothing beautiful or artistic about self-harm, depression, or suicide. When scrolling through Instagram at the age of 12 and you read to yourself, "It's not suicide if you're already dead inside," with a pretty girl in the background crying, it's very bothersome, and it isn't okay to influence our younger generations by putting these thoughts in their heads and possibly making an influence. When someone struggling with their own demons signs into their phone and starts scrolling through Instagram and sees a folder of other mentally distressed teenagers, it's not a cure but a danger. Through publicity and staying insulated in a community where no one will ever tell you that it is not a healthy way to live, but that toxicity isn't a pattern, it's just distorted thoughts on loop that you have the power to change.